Good, Andrew. Good. I'm glad to be here. We've been talking about doing this for a while, so yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, I'm James Fail. I run the Talonaxe Armory YouTube channel, and then in cooperation with my buddy Alan, we run the Talonaxe Armory Etsy, which is where you can get all the files for those 3D printed shells for those blooper grenade launchers and stuff. And I work with running the Louisiana Blaster League with some other hard-working admins and keeping it up and running. And I've been involved with the hobby on and off since 2005, when I bought my first Nerf Maverick shortly after it came out, the original blue and yellow one. So, yeah, just a deep and unrelenting love of the foam flinging hobby. It's majesty. Any kind of Nerf blaster, sports, hobbies, etc. on campus were kind of taking place in secret in buildings late at night. So what became Humans versus Zombies on the Penn State campus started out as like 10 or 12 guys playing HVZ-based mini game, the engineering units on campus. And the way that those mini games took place was we would take every blaster I owned, because I have always been a collector, and every dart I owned, and hid them throughout a floor of the building. And you'd, wander the building and pick up gear and deal with the guys playing zombies. And that's how we started doing that there. And then it's just spiraled wildly out of control from there, to the point where I now have nearly 300 blasters in the house that are individually serialized. I have a spreadsheet. They all have stickers on them with what number they are, and I can tell you where every blaster I own is, and even if I no longer own it, I can tell you who has it and its current status.
It's kind of the beginning of when things started to really kind of become popular and mainstream. Well, I don't even know if I would say it was mainstream then, but you've been there since the beginning. What would you say kind of attracted you to the hobby then, and what kind of keeps you and attracts you to the hobby now?
The joke has always been my mother didn't allow me to have toy guns as a child.
That's always been the joke.
Why am I into Nerf blasters today?
But at the end of
the day, I am a builder, a maker, an engineer,
and I like things that make me think.
So the thing that keeps me involved in the hobby is the weird stuff. A Caliburn doesn't really interest me at this point in the hobby. Yet another Striphoid doesn't really do big things for me. But I think we have a clip of me mag dumping Motor Tier, and that does something for me.
Let's see if we can run the clip. All right, apparently we have the audio situation resolved. So, yeah, just again, thank you everyone for joining us on the Foam Zone.
But more importantly
sorry
than
about the
that,
audio issue, but yeah,
positive
thank
and
you so much
negative,
for joining
this thing
us.
is
Again,
loud,
we have
and it pitches
James
these
Fail,
shells far.
aka Talonaxe Armory, with
What
us
you
tonight,
can't
which
see
I'm
is
sure
unlike
everyone
normally,
is
I have
already
a
aware
kind of
of.
shower curtain
But we
thing
are
set
just
up over here
discussing
just to stop
everything
these
foam
shells
flinging
from going
related that we
everywhere.
can. So,
It's what some of you have been
James,
asking
thank you
for.
again for
Mag
joining
dump.
us now that I have audio. So we're talking about
nuts.
your involvement in the hobby, how you got involved, what attracted you, and what keeps you there. What are some of your favorite blasters now that we're talking about blasters? What are some of your favorite, what do you love about blasters in general? And what are some of your favorite current blaster iterations that are happening now?
So my favorite thing in the hobby is when someone decides to do something new and unique and different that delivers a a dart downrange in a way we don't normally. So favorite blasters, my all-time favorite blaster, if I have to pick just one, which is a prohibitively difficult thing for me, is the Shellington Flypoint. Because not only is it shell ejecting, but it is an entirely mechanical system for the actual shell firing, right? Yeah, the dart is going to go through wheels, but that trigger pull is actuating the slide, the ejection, the pusher, all of that is coming off that one trigger pull. And the amount of engineering that Harrison did to make that work in that platform it's witchcraft. And then they've continued to iterate on that, right? Him and Heath Heel, they did Winchester. Is that what they ended up calling the lever action? I don't know. When I bought the lever action, it was still called unnamed lever action blaster. But they've done the lever action. They did Renfield, which became Kieran. And I love Kieran. Kieran is my go-to outdoor blaster. Everything about it is wonderful. It shoots lasers at like 100 feet, and it's gorgeous. And
kind of going back to what we were talking about when you first got into the hobby and where we are now, what have you seen evolve as far as like clubs, groups, gameplay style, even down to the blasters? Obviously, 3D printed blasters have become very extremely popular, and now we're getting, high performance shell injected blasters. Talk a little bit about just in general the evolution you've seen since you are an OG.
When I started, this was the height of engineering. This was the pinnacle of injection molded blasters that fired more than one shot before you had to reload. And as we all know, this is terrible. I just happen to have that there. The evolution of blasters is something we can't even begin to really grapple with in the nearly 20 years I've been doing this. I mean, the evolution of blasters we saw from 2020, when the COVID pandemic started, to when we came out of COVID is insane. When you think about, you locked all of these designers away for 2 years, and they came out with things that were completely unprecedented. Before COVID, the only readily available brushless blaster was the FDL, right? Nobody else was even trying. And now it feels like every time I turn around, there's a smaller and more elaborate brushless thing that's just appeared. And then when you want to talk about clubs and evolving the way we interact, we didn't have the communication methods we have now. We had like one web forum and a couple of discussion groups, and we were all trying to make things work locally without really any national level or even international, right, interaction. And now I'm in like 25 discords. Half of them are for regional clubs, right? I can right now jump in a channel and talk to the guys at Kane in Cincinnati and make a plan to go to their event next month if I want to. You know, I'm toying with flying to Detroit at Christmas time to go to Z13. These are things we wouldn't even have known were happening when I started.
Right.
The way that the internet's explosion over the last 20 years, where communication is instant and through all of these formats, and you can get in touch with people anywhere, and the tech explosion on our side, where, I mean, I've got 2 3D printers back here. They're only shut down because I'm talking to you.
Right.
The entire hobby changes like every 5 years. And I've seen it happen again and again and again. When we went from, you know, RSCBs to we went to clip system to we went to, well, do you know a Nerf dart is the least accurate thing on the planet, to where we are now, where we have opinions on which dart works best overall. And then you have guys who have gone all the way back to making slugs functionally, where they're like, no, this blaster is only tuned for a GOS or Rude dart. It's only going to fire properly with that. It's insane what we've done as a hobby and what people can do. And you've got guys chasing like 600 feet per second with springers now. It's unreal. I love where this hobby has gotten to, and I love where it's going.
Absolutely. I mean, my introduction to Nerf, probably like many of you all, was when I was a kid. And this may date me and age me. You may be able to guess my age. But I remember, I think aside from just a regular Nerf ball, foam ball, football or whatever, my first Nerf toy, I want to say, was the fencing sword, if you remember that.
Yes, I do.
Yes.
So me and my brother are separated by 20 months. We are less than 2 years apart. We not only had the fencing swords and the original Nerf bow, right? The pull and release one.
That was the other one.
We had the slingshot with the reactor style balls.
Right.
There is a reason Nerf quit making those, and the reason is they hurt.
That's right.
But the first time I remember, like, we talk about that, like, I like a gimmicky blaster, I like things that do weird stuff. I went to my friend Adam Schrantz's house. You know, call out if he happens to be here. He's not. He doesn't care about what I do anymore. We haven't talked 20 years. And he had a Razor Beast, right? With the crank, the Max Force blaster. And that was the coolest thing I'd ever seen.
Right.
Like, as a little kid. And when I look back and try to figure out, like, where did all of this come from? Well, I guess I can blame Adam.
So we were going to have guests call in, but we are having issues with the call-in number. Hopefully the man behind the curtain will be able to resolve that. Sorry for all the technical difficulties this evening. But if you remember your favorite first Nerf blaster, write it down in the chat. Also, if you have any questions or comments for Talonaxe Armory, feel free to write those down in the comments section as well. Also, friendly reminder, if you haven't already, please like and subscribe to the World Foam Alliance YouTube channel, and also join the Discord. And of course, don't forget to register yourself on the worldfoamalliance.org website. Also, just wanted to let you guys know we are going to be doing a free t-shirt giveaway. We will provide you with the magical special phrase that you guys will comment down in the chat section, and we will pick a random winner, and you will receive a free World Foam Alliance t-shirt. So stay tuned. So that's fantastic. I think one thing that we have in common is that we both played collegiate athletics. What is your background, and how has that translated into foam flinging for you today?
Permanently damaged knees. It translated to that. And I played rugby. That's my athletic background, as I played rugby. But my knees are pretty much fragged, but it causes me. You have individuals who choose to look at aspects of this hobby as a sport. And the guys who want to play like competitive 5v5 and go hard and fast in the paint, yeah, that's a sport. I'll give them that one. And then you have the people over here who want to treat HVZ or like their local pickup, foam flinging games as a sport. That's not a sport. That's a game. We're playing a game. And if you want to play competitive, that's a whole other animal, because the thing about playing something in a competitive fashion is you have to have clearly defined rules, and there needs to be someone to enforce those rules.
Right.
And as we've learned from some of these events not going as well as they could have, you often need to have more people enforcing those rules than you think you need.
Yeah.
So that's my big thing.
Absolutely.
My biggest takeaway from competitive athletics is actually starting and ending our games with a whistle.
If you think foam flinging, blaster tag, whatever you call it, is a sport or a game, go ahead and write that down in the comment section. Would love to see what everyone has to think about that. Maritime Foam wants to know, what would you consider your favorite arm-mounted blaster? He may be a little bit biased himself.
That is a rigged question.
Right?
He knows what it is. We like the... So we are discussing the MXL Gauntlet by Maritime Foam and Foam Blasted. Mine is right over there. So we went to PA Survival Fest, and Alan bought, I think, like one of like 2 or 3 he brought with him. Like, we walked in, Alan bought it. Had to have it. And then us and the Detroit guys and some of the mods went back to our Airbnb because Alan is proper Cajun. So Alan was making gumbo, right? And Alan proceeds to shoot Alex from Detroit in like the inner thigh from about 6 feet away with the freaking gauntlet. And at that point, the entire room was like, oh, I need that. I need that. And so then I was helping Maritime out to his Jeep. Like at the end of the game, and I'm like, so what do I need to do? He's like, oh yeah, just send me a message on Instagram. So I had one in my colors like a week later. Like, I'd been home less than a week when it showed up. But yeah. My favorite arm-mounted blaster is the Mega XL Gauntlet, because the Manta does not actually mount to your arm.
Yeah, Boomstick Mods runs his religiously at our events, and I am super envious. I am waiting for Anthony, aka Maritime Foam, to send me one as well. Maritime Foam, Anthony, if you want to send me one, I totally will understand and will not be upset.
The upgraded one where he put the feed ridge inside the magazine so you don't always fire 2 rounds.
Right.
Life changer.
Yeah. Very fun. If you have a favorite arm-mounted wrist blaster or arm-mounted blaster in general, go ahead and tell us what that is down in the comments section. Again, if you have any questions or comments you would like to ask Talonaxe Armory, please go ahead and put that down in the comments section as well. Stay tuned for our free t-shirt giveaway. Don't forget to like and subscribe, comment on the YouTube channel, as well as the Discord, and please register at the worldfoamalliance.org website. Sorry for all the plugs. Gotta do it. So let's talk about Louisiana Blaster League. So you are one of the organizer admins that run it. Tell us a little bit about the creation of it and just some details overall about Louisiana Blaster League.
Oh, I didn't found Louisiana Blaster League. One of the other moderators, he founded the organization.
Okay.
And then, as with so many of us, it very nearly died during COVID, right? So on a lark, coming out of COVID, I saw a post on Facebook for, hey, we're having a game in New Orleans at City Park in New Orleans. So I told told the missus, hey, I'm going to go to New Orleans and I'm going to go play this game. And I drive all the way down there and play with them. And while we're playing, one of the other mods who was trying to bring the group back from COVID, right? He had come back from being deployed, found that his home club was kind of falling apart, and he was trying to put it back together. It was like, well, we're going to play in Baton Rouge next month. I'm like, okay, well, let's give this a try. So I put out the call to like my various friends to get them to come out because, I want to do this. This is something I enjoy. And me and Alan, who we've now referred to half a dozen times, have a problem. And that problem is if one of us does something, the other one ends up doing it to some extent. It's the nature of our friendship. Alan collects Transformers. I have a half a dozen on a shelf because of Alan. I have hundreds of Nerf guns. That means Alan has about 100 of them. And the reason Alan now has 100 of them is I convinced Alan to come to this game with me. And then I convinced Alan to come to the next game with me. And now Alan is on the board with me and has to deal with keeping track of all the barriers. And that's kind of how things snowballed wildly out of control for us, is we just kept bringing on guys who had a passion for the hobby and were willing to not let the club die coming out of COVID.
Right.
So now our leadership organization consists of Heath, Noah, which is the one who was trying to make things. Is that my dog bulldozing her way into the room? Yes, it is. Noah, who was trying to keep the club alive, me, Alan, and then Jacob. And we live in South Louisiana. I know you guys up north, you have to kind of shut down all play, sometime in like October or November because it gets too cold.
Right.
And we should probably shut down all play come like June, but we don't. So it's getting hotter and we're having more issues, and we're playing once a month at the time. And one of our members announces that he thinks he can get us an indoor venue. And it's like, well, why do you think you can get us an indoor venue? Well, he's a member of the local Mormon church, and he had seen video of the Southern California clubs playing in a Mormon church auxiliary building. So now we play twice a month, once a month at 150 FPS cap and ages 8 and up indoors at the Mormon church. And then we play an outdoor game at the end of the month with a split cap, like people are doing for PvP now, where it's 250 springers and 200 electrics.
Okay.
And that's outdoor at a park in what's technically Denham Springs, or not Denham, Gonzales, Louisiana. But yeah, that's unimportant to anybody who doesn't live here. Baton Rouge.
And you're playing in a public park. Do you have to? Is that okayed by the city? Are you guys running insurance? How are you guys running that?
We are good to do. The way the rules work in South Louisiana is as long as we don't have a regular attendance of 30 or more people, we don't have to carry insurance, and we don't have to carry permits from the city.
Okay.
If we had a regular attendance of more than 30, we'd have to carry permits, and if we had, I think it's the same number, we have to worry about event insurance.
And what are your attendance numbers like in general between the two indoor and outdoor events?
So the outdoor game is never as well attended as the indoor game.
Interesting.
We're in South Louisiana and it's hot.
That makes sense, of course.
Yeah, so we have kind of like this Goldilocks sweet spot from like late September till like November, where people will want to play outside, and then from like March to May, because the other thing is these thin-blooded Southerners get real ornery about being cold,
right,
when it's anything below about 60. And meanwhile, me, again, Alan, a couple of our other guys are like, it's finally comfortable.
Right.
What do you mean you don't want to play? Whereas the indoor game, like you're playing in an air-conditioned gym, it's great. You know, it's climate controlled, everything is contained. And then the other thing about that game is because it's ages 8 and up, we get, you know, the guys who have kids now and all that kind of stuff is a factor for us. Because several of our members, you know, their lives have moved on. They've got a couple of kids now.
Right. So John Swenson says, "Hey James, how did the Betty Booper get its name?"
So when I got the Blooper grenade launcher, I jokingly referred to it as Betty Blooper to Alan, thinking of Betty Boop, right? Like painting nose art of Betty Boop on the side of it. And Alan took that to mean that I was referring to Archie comics, like Betty and Veronica. So he bought a second launcher that was a little different body kit and announced that it was Veronica. And then that's why if you buy the shells from our Etsy store, they've got names like Archie, Jughead, Moose. They're all Archie comics characters.
That's fun.
And the joke is because who goes in both Betty and Veronica? Archie does.
Right. For those of you that don't know, Betty Boop, I believe, is an old 1930s Max Fleischer cartoon. Boop, boop,
Yep.
be-doop, boop. Again, kind of showing our age. So what type of game types do you guys end up playing? Is there a difference between the game types that you play indoors versus the outdoor events?
So the outdoor event tends to run more like competitive style game modes. We are much more willing in the 14 and up game to run stuff where like someone gets eliminated and they have to sit out and things of that nature. The indoor game, we almost entirely try to run things where everyone is on the field the whole game because we have more younger players. And when you have younger players and you lose their attention, you lose it for the rest of the day.
Right.
So you don't want to lose their attention if you can avoid it. This month, because it's October, all of the modes for our indoor game are HVZ minigames. We are only playing HVZ minigames this month. So this month we're playing Zombie Deathmatch, which we ruthlessly stole from the Detroit guys, which is you have two teams, and as people are eliminated from both teams, they join the third team, the zombies. We're playing Zombie Checkpoints, which is just a advance and objective style game mode. I have no idea how Jacob plans to run that one. We're playing Romero Zombies, which is a variant of regular zombie play we run, which is limited ammo for the humans, and the zombies can only walk. And then we're playing what we call Romalamo, which is Romero Alamo, which is the humans are held up in a fort made of boxes, and the zombies attack the fort, and they have two zombie specials. One that we call Kong, not like King Kong, but Donkey Kong, so he throws barrels. And one that we call the Juggernaut, which tears down walls. So one person will play the Juggernaut, one person will play Kong, and they disassemble the fort over time.
That sounds like a lot of fun. Maritime Foam asked, what led to your massive collection of Domo blasters?
Well, like I said, I'm about gimmicks, right? The weirder the blaster, the more interested I am in it. So like, why am I interested in the MXL gauntlet? Because it goes on my arm and it fires an ammo people don't normally use. Love it. When I started looking at Domo's stuff, and like everyone else in the world who started looking at Domo's stuff for like motor tier and things that had any kind of practical nature, the first thing I looked at was Rail Cleaner, which has a very difficult to pronounce German name that if he was here, he would supply for me. And Rail Cleaner is a revolver shotgun that uses its own cartridges. Like it uses these 4-round, like square shells. And if you buy one directly from Domo, he will have built it with Merlins, and it will make the most unholy noise you've ever heard. it ramps in pitch so quickly and it's so loud that people think it's a police siren when you fire it quickly.
It's extremely loud.
Oh, yeah, it's awful.
And the wiring is pretty impressive too.
Because they're all full of lights too.
Right.
Like, that's the other thing. And so I bought that, and that opened a line of communication between me and Domo. And then what did I buy second? I don't remember anymore which one I bought second. But then he announced the big one back there, my sweet Aunt Petunia, Hammerwald. And it could fire 4 rounds. And I'm like, well, I can already do that. But it could fire MXL. And it could fire them from the same clip. And at that point, I had to have it. So he had one ready to go. And I was getting ready for PA Survival Fest. And I messaged him and I was like, can we get it here in time for me to take it with me? And he's like, oh, yeah, it'll be no problem, blah, blah, blah. If you've ever talked to Domo, he's got this very reserved, very like soft-spoken accent. And then it wasn't here, it wasn't here, it wasn't here. I'm getting more and more nervous. And then it showed up with like a week to spare.
Whew.
And we took it to PA Survival Fest, and I didn't fire it once.
But at least you got it.
Yeah, but now I own Motor Tier, I own Rail Cleaner, I own Hammerwald, I own the Selectric 9, I own the second Selectric 9 he ever built, and I own Hollander, the one with the crazy windmill feeder.
Sure.
That's, of everything he's built, like if you're going to buy one Domo blaster and you want it to be in any way efficient, buy a Hollander. Hollander it's neat. It works in a way nothing else ever does, and it works pretty much 100% of the time.
Yeah, absolutely. So we kind of been talking about gimmicky blasters. So I think tonight's phrase to win your free World Foam Alliance t-shirt is going to be in it for the gimmick. So if you would like to win a free World Foam Alliance t-shirt, write down in the comments this phrase, in it for the gimmick. Also, would love to hear what your favorite Domacheski blaster is if you have one. So go ahead and feel free to comment that down in the chat section as well. So let's talk about HVZ, because that's kind of how you and I met. We met at the Pennsylvania Survival Fest, which some of you may know now has been rebranded to just Survival Fest, since they are growing and they are evolving and may not necessarily be hosted in Pennsylvania in the future. So they just came out with that announcement today. But talk a bit about, again, you've been doing this since 2005. Talk a bit about how you got introduced to going to some of these large-scale HVZ events, where it's been, your overall experience, and what events you're kind of looking forward to going to in the future. And we can break that up, of course. But, yeah, talk a little bit about your overall HVZ event experience.
So I missed the heyday of that, like, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Maryland area HVZ craze, because I had moved to New Orleans following my grandmother's passing, and was kind of living in New Orleans, the whole other planet. If you don't know, you don't know, but it's not like anywhere else. So coming out of it, and End War had started happening in those things, and then COVID happens. So the first large-scale, like, modern HVZ I went to was last year, the same weekend as End War.
Okay.
A bunch of the Louisiana guys trekked down to University of Florida and went to their HVZ. And if you have the opportunity, Florida puts on a great game. It's a beautiful campus, and there's a little pizza joint right off campus that's Fantastic. So we went and did that. And then Alan had never done an HVZ before. So he decided that, yes, we liked HVZ and we should continue doing that. And I was talking to him and I'm like, well, if there's ever one in Pennsylvania, we got to go because I can like double dip, right? So we determined we were going to go to PA Survival Fest before anything else, right? Once they said it was in Pennsylvania and they said Central Pennsylvania, I'm like, close enough, that'll work. And then Maryland Mayhem announced, and we were like, well, we're not doing that because we're doing PA Survival Fest. And they were like, what, 2 weeks apart or something last year? 2 weeks, 3 weeks, something like that.
Yeah.
And so we did PA Survival Fest. Then I did End War this year. And then we're getting ready to go to Mall Mutation Madness Hardcore 4 Cold Rock Galactic. Or not Antarctic, not Galactic. It's because
that's a name.
Yeah, it's a lot. In St. Louis, like not this weekend, but the following weekend, the 14th. And we're meeting up with a bunch of the PA Survival Fest guys and other people. Though pointedly, and I'm going to call her out because this is not We Are Behavior, Kelsey is not going to Mall Mutation Madness because it's Penn State's homecoming. And my response to that remains, you have been to a pile of Penn State homecomings because you never miss a game. You've never been to this. Gonna be angry with me. But yeah, we're gonna go to Mall Mutation Madness because what it sounds like they're theming for this HVZ is, and again, I like the gimmicks, I like the story, I like the shape of it, right? I like how they want to theme their game. Is it seems to be themed to two of my favorite things. The computer game, Deep Rock Galactic, because again, it's Cold Rock Antarctic, and it appears John Carpenter's The Thing. And if there's anything I love, it's The Thing.
Yeah, The Thing is a classic. If you haven't seen it, it is Halloween horror movie night month. So definitely check that movie out if you have not seen it. The original and the 1980s version. Again, if you would like to win a free t-shirt, please make sure that you comment down in the chat the catchphrase, which is in it for the gimmick, because Talonaxe Armory loves his gimmicky blasters. So both of you and I went to Pennsylvania Survival Fest. Shout out to all the mods there. Shout out to Kelsey, aka Pandora. James is absolutely right. You're too loyal to Penn State. It's time for you to go to Mall Mutation Madness. It's definitely an event that I want to go to at some point. Unfortunately, it falls in October, which is an extremely busy month for myself. I do the director of media content for a local haunt attraction, so my October month is unfortunately filled up with doing Halloween haunted attraction stuff, but at some point I would definitely love to make it out there for sure. And then the other event that you and I attended was End War 2022, which we've discussed before. But just let everyone know kind of your thoughts on how PSF went and also End War 2022, how you felt about that.
We were at 2023. I didn't go to 2023.
Oh, 23. I'm so sorry. I don't even know what day it is. So, yes, 2023.
From everything I know and everything I've taken in, PA Survival Fest among HVZs is the most complete, well, Survival Fest now, but is the most complete and well-designed game available, because they're not only concerned about the plot and the storyline working, but they make sure that the rules that they have mesh to that storyline and those two pieces work together in concert. Right. Instead of what so often happens with any form of game design, which is either, hey, the story has to come first, or hey, it's all about the rules. So the big, like talking about Maryland, right? The big thing I hear about the UMBC game is it's all about the game. It's all about the rules. This part is just kind of a framing. They sit on top. It's not a huge component, but this is the theme. Whereas Survival Fest, this is the story. You have the story and the rules, and they work together and they get you to a conclusion, right? So that's what I like about PA Survival Fest, is it's a complete package. End War, I will be 100% candid and honest with this entire channel. I went to End War this year expecting it to be an absolute debacle, thinking I was going to the last End War so I could say I was there. And then I got there, and all the props in the world to the Charlotte Outdoor Gaming Group.
Absolutely.
They pulled everything together. We had a great time. We made wonderful friends. I made such good friends just due to me being me and behaving the way I behave, that after the game, I reached out to Wormy, one of their moderators, and was like, hey, what would it take for me to get one of every pin so that I can have them for the YouTube channel? And she's like, yeah, sure, done. And just packed them up and sent them to me. So back here in the back of my videos, that strap with all those buttons on it, that's every button they made for End War this year. And End War was Greek myth themed. So like there's a Dionysus button, there's an Athena button, there's a Hades button, right? There's all these different buttons. And so I have all of them. And it's just because they're decent people. And that's all I want, is everyone in this hobby, right, to be decent and understanding towards each other. We're all here playing with glorified children's toys. Take the ego out of it and have some fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll go into content creation since you have a YouTube channel, but I think one of my favorite videos that you did is definitely the gatekeeping video that you posted, which you go into a little bit about what you have just said. So, but we'll go into that a little bit later. Again, if you have any questions for Talonaxe Armory, please go ahead and drop them down in the live chat section. Also, if you would like to win a free t-shirt, World Foam Alliance t-shirt, go ahead and post the catchphrase in it for the gimmick, and we will pick a random winner towards the end of the live stream, and we will get that out to you. So yeah, with Pennsylvania Survival Fest, there was a lot of great things that I really enjoyed. One thing that I always wish UMBC did a little bit more of is what I call flavor, add more flavor to the game, because their game mechanics are extremely strong. You'll never be disappointed by the game mechanics, I don't think. But just having a little extra flair to the theatrics, dressing up and, fleshing out a script and a story. That's something that Pennsylvania Survival Fest, now Survival Fest, did a fantastic job. I thought it was a great idea to collaborate with Josh France over at France Foamworks to do the Foam Nation for the first day. So there was kind of a small convention that happened where we had some vendors and just people showcasing stuff. Clowney was there. Detroit Dart Talk was there. Southern Maryland House of Nerve with the Maryland Foam Alliance was there. Builder BB was there. And I know I'm leaving some people off of the list. Eric Ponko, Gargunkel was there. So lots of very cool people, and it was a lot of fun. Also, there was a three gun competition. So stations where people would have to shoot targets, do long distance target practice, and then also go through a slalom course. So that was a lot of fun, and that was day one. And then day two was the actual HVZ, and again, game mechanics, lots of theatrics, great costumes. I really enjoyed a lot of it. But one thing that I really thought was smart and that I enjoyed personally seeing was that they had for the first mission, split people up into different groups, and the groups were kind of based on like skill levels. So like if you were a new player or a noob, you were in group one, and that group was set off to go ahead and do their mission. the zombies were told to give them a scare, but not necessarily tag anyone out. So that first group was able to get their feet wet, but also, have an experience, have confrontation, have some engagement from zombies, but not really have to worry about getting tagged and, traveling, however long it takes to get to these events sometimes after coming up with your loadout for months and months, and then you end up getting tagged in the first 5 minutes. Always leaves some players salty. So I thought that was a great game mechanic that they implemented, and hopefully we'll see more of that kind of stuff going forward. And then, the End War 2023, I thought went extremely well given the circumstances and the scheduling. The UNCC mod team did an absolute fantastic job with everything. And again, given the circumstances, I think everyone enjoyed themselves and had a great time. And I personally am looking forward to coming back to End War next year. And there is some discussions, I think, about returning to Charlotte. So that would be fun. Maybe a little less hot would be nice. It was a little brutal then. We've discussed that as well. That was one of the challenges. But overall, it was fantastic. So if you, again, let me just see if there's any questions. Oh yeah, so someone had mentioned ammo. What's your favorite ammo type to be using? I guess between regular PvP games, and what do you use for HVZ? And if you have a favorite ammo type or dart type, go ahead and mention that down in the live chat section.
So I am, in general, if I am picking ammo specifically to be, this is what I want to fire, it's Worker Gen 3 Plus, the original, not one of these new weirdly weighted ones that have come out, the orange tip, etc. That's the dart I want. In terms of composition of foam, glue quality, all those things, that's the best dart, no question. I've got in the house right now for a video I want to do. I've got those. I've got the Dart Zone darts, the Adventure Force darts. I've got the GOS Rude darts, and I've got like 25 kinds of darts in the house because I want to do a weird video. But for our local club, our go-to is the DZ Max dart, the red with the gray tip, whatever they call those. They gave them a stupid name. I don't remember what they are. The Target dart. And that's
I just call them DZ Max darts myself.
Yeah,
so
me too. I know they have a name, but I don't know what it is. And the reason we buy them is Target has sales.
Right.
Like, that's what it comes down to. And whenever we need to replenish like the club stockpile, it's like, okay, well, it's a sale. Let's go ahead and buy 100.
We just saw that Dart Zone at Toy Fair announced and showcased their new marker darts, tracker darts. I'm not quite sure what they're calling them, but they're basically, I'm guessing, more for competitive play, where they're.
My immediate concern with those is I haven't seen them fired out of a flywheeler.
Right.
And flywheelers are such a big part of the hobby. Right? If this was 5-6 years ago, it'd be like, well, yeah, springers dominate the competitive field. But I don't know what's going to happen to the marking material in that tip when it passes through the flywheels.
Right. The man behind the curtain has told me they are actually called tag darts. So that makes sense. And also the 2Xs I've had a chance to play with. They're the next iteration of the 2.0s. They're pretty fantastic darts as well. So Dart Zone's coming out with some pretty cool darts these days for sure. Just a couple questions from the chat. Frugal asked, what is your favorite dinosaur?
I'm a pterodactyl guy. I'm not even kidding. There is somewhere at my mother's house a picture of me at like age 4 in a handmade pterodactyl costume that my mother made for me.
Nice.
And I will remain salty till my dying day that the original Jurassic Park lacked the pterodactyl scene. Because
That's fair.
In the novel, the pterodactyls attack them in like a restaurant, and it's terrifying just to read. And they eliminated it in the movie because it was too hard to film.
They did finally make an appearance, in the first Jurassic World? Was that the first time we saw them? At the end of Jurassic Park 3, right?
Yeah, when they're attacking the bridge.
Right.
That's the first time they pop up, and it's like, come on!
And then Alan is asking your favorite foam flinging podcast.
I can't answer that. They might both be here. So I listen to all three of like the ones that are still actively released. I'm a big Detroit Dart Talk guy, obviously.
Of course.
5 Minute Respawn holds a special place in my heart because it's so much about HVZ, which is my preferred gameplay. And then obviously I do listen to the Dart Jam podcast, though with their more irregular release schedule, it's a little harder for me. Alan knows I'm a huge podcast guy in general. I love podcasts.
Yeah.
So I have to plug my all-time favorite podcast, which is Behind the Bastards, all the best things about the worst people in history.
Nice. If you have a favorite foam flinging podcast, what is yours? Shout out to Buff Daddy and the 5 Minute Respawn crew, also Boomstick Mods and Spud for Dart Jam, and of course the Detroit Dart Talk guys. So I think we are going to get ready to announce the winner, but let's talk about your YouTube channel, because that's really kind of taken off recently. So you have a YouTube channel, you do long format, and you also do short format. Just talk a little bit about your YouTube channel. You do a wide gamut of topics and subjects, which is kind of similar to myself. I do a lot of gameplay footage, and every now and then I'll sprinkle in a short test firing demo video. But yeah, your content is fantastic. Talk a little bit about that.
So the reason all of this came about when my significant other decided that she was going to move her office things out of this room. And she did that with the loaded motive of pushing me to finally do this. She's bought me a couple of cameras over the years and other things to push me into doing the YouTube thing. So starting in January of this year, I started actively doing the YouTube thing. And it started out, I was going to do some gameplay stuff and talk about things in the collection. And then there was some friction in the hobby space. There was some bullying and some people, you need to know this to even be involved. And that gets under my skin because a huge part of what I do locally is try to foster the knowledge base for our less experienced members.
Right.
Because due to the nature of my upbringing and how long I've been in the hobby, I have 101 useless skills, and this is one of the very few places I can use any of them. So I did a video on bullying and gatekeeping. It's labeled shouting at clouds for or something. And that video went quasi-viral, and I went from 700 subscribers to 6,000 subscribers before everything stopped and plateaued out again. And it's coincided with some other stuff in my life, meaning that my production schedule has been disrupted. I'm starting a new job. I had to go to Ohio. There's been a whole mess of things.
Sure.
And for everything, the big thing for me with making content for our hobby is finding something that people aren't doing. And we have so many guys who want to talk about what they bought on the shelf at Walmart from the big manufacturers, We have Xavier, who has an outdoor range, which enables him to just, I'm going to take this outside and I'm going to tell you actually how it performs at a distance. And nobody else can do that. Right. And then we had Coop, who was like the last of the old guard. We have Drac, who people have opinions on, and we're not going to get into those opinions people have about Drac. But, he has, for a large period of time, the most interaction with the manufacturers of any of us. So when I started thinking about, like, where do I want to do things, what interests me, it became two primary things. Weird, gimmicky blasters that people probably shouldn't buy because they cost too much money. Because, again, I am an individual in a dual income relationship with no children. So I can buy my own toys. And the weird, cheap things on Amazon, Temu, AliExpress, wherever, that normally people don't buy because they don't know if they're going to be any good.
Right.
And there is a lot of misses with that content. That's the bulk of my shorts, right? Are me just firing some random piece of garbage I bought off of a Chinese reseller. And within our internal group, we call them Chinesium garbage.
Right.
Because I had to buy them from China and they're garbage. But every once in a blue moon, we find a real gem.
Right.
And that's the Betty blooper. That's where that came from. I bought something that everybody was like, it's not going to work. It's going to be bad, blah, blah, blah. And I bought it and I loaded it, actioned the mechanism, pulled the trigger. That's pretty good. And Alan came over. He played with it. He's like, I'm going to take this home with me. I'm like, okay, whatever. I don't have time. Have at it, bro. And he cut a piece of K17, chunked a piece of K17 in it, and clack, clack. Hey, this will fire Mega XL. What do you mean it'll fire Mega XL? Well, I just made a shell. It'll fire Mega XL now. Can we make it fire other things? Yeah, we can make it fire other things. So, like, that's one of the handful of, like, real gems. Obviously, I've gotten weird knockoffs of 3D printed things that I'd rather not have, but I got to feed the algorithm somehow. And I found one on accident. I bought a knockoff zinc, of all things, that didn't look like a zinc. But when I got it home and I opened it up and I took it apart and I put it back together, I'm like, this is a zinc. And it's pretty good, actually. I sold that to one of the local kids for like less than I bought it for. But I'll be over here. There's a 50-gallon tote and it's just full of this stuff. So on some level, it's like, just get it out of my house.
Nice.
I gotta feed the algorithm.
That's right. So, I mean, your overall kind of approach is kind of to find something that isn't necessarily oversaturated and trying to make it unique and present it that way. What advice or other advice would you give to people that are looking to do content creation?
In the modern YouTube era, don't, because you have to chase the algorithm if you want to do well. And that's the biggest problem. So my actual advice, the joking advice is don't. The actual advice is understand that differentiating your content hurts your channel. So you may be into Legos and Nerf guns, but there's a reason why Xavier has a channel for each thing. The way the algorithm works is it wants to point people at related things. So it just wants to keep nibbling the Nerf apple. It doesn't want to go to the other one. So concentrate on the thing you want to talk about and do that. And short form content, short form content, short form content, short form content. The primary driver of more views to my long form content is short form content and offsite linking. So when I post it to YouTube groups, when I splash it to Discords, that's the primary places that my viewership to long form content that I care about comes from, which is why so much of my gameplay footage gets chopped up to make shorts, and then that short goes out like the day before or the day after the long form did, and then people can come back and look at the long form. And then the other thing I'm changing about my gameplay footage, I'm of the opinion that the biggest thing that gameplay in this hobby space is missing is commentary. We are playing a sport or a pastime, depending on how competitive it is, right? That people do not understand in the least. So when a random person stumbles upon a Nerf war clip, they don't know what's going on. So my current initiative is to create gameplay videos with commentary. And there's going to be two kinds of gameplay related commentary. One, where I am running the weird blaster that a designer made. So there's already one out there with me and Domachevsky where we're talking about what I'm running, how I'm running it, and when it goes wrong, why it went wrong, and him commentating on hey, this is probably why it broke. And then the other way I want to see commentary happen, and the thing I'm working on right now, is I need someone else's gameplay footage that is more competitive and more aggressive. And then I want to sit down with them and John Madden the ever-loving hell out of a video clip, right? Where, you're taking this lane. Why didn't you take this lane? Did you think about coming over here? And really getting into the nitty-gritty of how we play the game so that the people who want to get into it and don't understand it yet can kind of jump on.
Yeah, absolutely. I have a decent amount of competitive gameplay footage myself, as you guys know, or some of you may know. I am one of the team members on Team Magic Smoke, so we've competed a few times, and so we have some competitive game footage, and also just from regular PvP games, they can get pretty competitive as well. So maybe we can sit down and do some commentary on those and see how that goes. But yeah, for me, I've said it before. I think the piece of advice I have is, again, just go out there and just do it. Get a camera, get in front of the camera, learn to, kind of find what works for yourself, and then just put it out there. It's okay to fail. You're going to fail sometimes, but you're going to learn from that as well. So just getting out there, creating content, posting it so people can share, not necessarily be too concerned about the views and likes and subs and everything, but just have fun doing it and get yourself out there is my advice always. But we are wrapping up around that time. Yep, it's getting to that time. So where can people find you, James? Where can people find you online?
So everywhere that I can put a video, I exist as Talonaxe Armory. Talonaxe is all one word, spelled just like I say it. Armory is armory. Word. You can find us on Etsy, where we sell the blooper shells. If you need a blooper, we keep saying that we're going to list some pre-modified ones, because I'll be real, I have 3 of them back here I'm not going to use. We need to do that, Alan. I know you're listening. Don't let me forget about it. But my primaries, you can find me on YouTube, youtube.com/Talonaxe Armory. And sometimes I post things to TikTok and Instagram, but mostly Instagram just gets my random Facebook pictures.
Excellent. All right. So it looks like we have the winner of the Catchphrase World Foam Alliance t-shirt giveaway, and I'm a little confused on who it is. It's either Gargunkel, Eric Ponko again, or it's Kelsey. Kelsey Harmon.
She deserves it after I called her out.
So, yep, congratulations to Pandora for being the winner of the t-shirt this show. So I would like to invite everyone who has not subscribed. Of course, my light went out. Of course, a bunch of technical difficulties this evening. I want to encourage and invite everyone to like and subscribe to Talonaxe's YouTube channel. Make sure you check out the Etsy store as well. Just want to thank everyone for joining us tonight. Tomorrow, we will be releasing episode 3 of The Forge with Al the Geek, who will be talking about Intro to Painting, so that'll be fun. It should be released sometime tomorrow afternoon. Also, next Wednesday will be another episode of Get Off My Lawn with Captain Xavier and Al the Geek with special guest American Foam. So definitely tune in and check that out. Any closing remarks or statements, James, you would like to say?
I mean, like, comment, subscribe to this channel. You're always supposed to say that. And if you find me and my guys at Mall Mutation Madness, we'll have a lovely limited edition patch. There's literally not enough to go around. There's only like 44 of them.
Nice. And we will try to convince you to make it down to Maryland Mayhem at some point. Hopefully we'll see you again at End War. And
I'll be at End War. I'll be at Survival Fest. I'm not going to miss Survival Fest for anything because I have to keep my moral one up on Kelsey.
It all comes down to Kelsey. So thank you guys so much. Next Wednesday will be Get Off My Lawn live stream show. Al the Geek, Captain Xavier with special guest American Foam, and then the week after that, the next Foam Zone will actually have Michael Lasik, who is one of the organizers of Pennsylvania Survival Fest, now known as Survival Fest, as well as the Still City group up in Pittsburgh, I believe, and also one of the founding presidents of the Grove City urban gaming community. So tune in for the next episode of the Foam Zone in 2 weeks. My light just doesn't work, so it's all bad. Between the audio and the lighting, I don't know. I give up. But anyways, want to appreciate you guys for tuning in for the Foam Zone. We'll see you guys in a couple weeks. Be good, be safe, and don't forget to dart.